Hi, my name is Cassie. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I served in multiple air defense artillery units working with Patriot missiles. I grew up in the country right outside Fort Knox, and it was a normal daily occurrence to hear the blasts and explosions from tank and artillery training in the distance. It was as frequent as a train passing by, so you never really gave it too much thought. My mama lived so close that you not only heard the explosions, but you could feel them in your chest as if it was occurring in your backyard. It actually rattled the wooden windows. I often drifted off to sleep, tucked away in my bed at my mama's house, listening to the training and wondering what it would be like to be in the Army. I remember feeling really lucky that so many brave Americans were training so hard to keep us safe just on the other side of a couple of hills. When I graduated high school, I joined the military and left on a grand adventure to see the world. At the young age of 20, I found myself in the middle of the war during the invasion of Iraq in 2003. One particular night early on, I remember being in the middle of the desert. We had just jumped to a new site and finished setting up. We received word that another unit would be attacking enemy forces in a town close by, and that, we would hear the explosions. As I was preparing my cot for bed that night outside the tent, the battle began. The once dark sky with a blanket of stars that felt within reach was suddenly lit up with the presence of war. Every sense within me was drawn to this moment. I could hear the war. I could see the blast of the war in the distance. I could smell the war, and I could feel the war in every part of my body. It was an extremely isolating experience to be tucked away, fairly safe from the brutality of the moment, left to process the experience alone in our heads. We weren't in direct danger at the moment, but we were full of adrenaline and hyper-aware and wondering what lied ahead. This went on for hours. Thoughts of the death and destruction, families torn apart, both in Iraq and back home, ravaged by war. As the feeling of internal panic and pain rose in my blood, all I wanted to do was focus my mind and quiet my brain, and end this nightmare by somehow falling asleep. I shut my eyes tight, I pulled the sleeping bag up over my head, I tried to grasp at any forced memory that would float through my mind. I started to think of my childhood, and I suddenly had a flashback. I was back home, safe in my bed at my mama's house, right outside Fort Knox, listening to the military training exercises as I drifted off to sleep. I've often struggled over the last 18 years with the moral injury that comes from participating in a war that did nothing more than leave children without parents, left family members and friends to mourn great losses, increased veteran homelessness and suicide, left other veterans with lifelong struggles, destroyed relationships, and so much more. A few years ago, I decided that I needed to find a way to use my experience and pain to bring light to my own life and to the lives of others. I began seeking out opportunities for personal growth and self-improvement so that I could be a better mother and person. Strength. I found personal strength through yoga, grounding and self-awareness from meditation, and healing through exploring the outdoors. On my journey, I've been able to reframe my experience in my heart and in my mind so that I know if I did not have the traumatic experience of war, then I wouldn't have the tools I need to help other veterans that may be struggling. Whether it's by teaching yoga to Vietnam veterans or leading backcountry wilderness adventures, I know I went to war so that I could reach the hearts and minds of other veterans and offer them opportunities of healing on their own journey. During this process, I also found a group at the Louisville Vet Center that is near and dear to my heart, Shakespeare with Veterans. This is a Kentucky Shakespeare program with a magical group of veterans. We spend time studying the words of Shakespeare and seeing how easily they resonate with us, both as civilians and warriors. We also do a little acting on occasion. I would like to offer you all a piece from Richard II This is John of Gaunt talking to Henry, the future king. I'm trying to console him because he's just been banished from England. He's trying to convince him to possibly change his outlook, see things a different way. So although this is a very different scenario, it resonates with me because I believe so deeply in the power of the mind that if you can change your mindset, you can also change your life. All places that the eye of heaven visits are to a wise man ports and happy havens. Teach thy necessity to reason thus. There is no virtue like necessity. Think not the king did banish thee, but thou the king. Woe doth the heavier sit, where it perceives it is but faintly born. Go, say I sent thee forth to purchase honor, and not the king exiled thee. Or suppose devouring pestilence hangs in our air, and thou art flying to a fresher clime. Look, what thy soul holds dear, imagine it. To lie in that way thou goest not whence thou comest. Suppose the singing birds musicians, the grass wherein thou treadest the present strewed, the flowers fair ladies, and thy steps no more than a delightful measure or a dance. For gnarling sorrow hath less power to bite the man that mocks at it and sets it light.